It is Tuesday, January 13th, 2015. I'm in front of the editorial offices of the Gazette. I'm about to do a little impromptu protest against the fact that the Montreal Gazette and the Montreal Gazette's justice reporter have so far refused to cover a story about the fact that the Unitarian Universalist Association congregations hired Stikeman Elliott Barristers and Solicitors litigation lawyers, whose offices are about a city block away, to falsely accuse me of the archaic crime of blasphemous libel in Bill Cosby style legal bullying that's intended to cover up and hide the fact that certain Unitarian Universalist ministers are guilty of engaging in what Stikeman Elliott Barristers and Solicitors litigation lawyer Maitre Marc-André Coulombe describes in his cease and desist demand letters as such despicable crimes as pedophilia and rape. So I will just begin that little impromptu protest now by bringing the picket signs out of the bag. So this picket sign's actually been around for quite a while. In fact, if my memory serves me well, it pre-existed the reversion of justice that the Unitarian Universalist Association of Congregations engaged in when it hired Stikeman Elliott Barristers and Solicitors litigation lawyer Maitre Marc-André Coulombe to falsely accuse me of the archaic crime of blasphemous libel for allegedly, and I do say allegedly, making, in his words, unfounded and vicious allegations to the effect that ministers of the association engage in such despicable crimes as pedophilia and rape. He went on to say that these allegedly unfounded and vicious allegations were defamatory, and that they were so defamatory that they constituted the criminal act of blasphemous libel, which is still on the books in the Canadian Criminal Code. Canada's blasphemy law has come into the news again recently in the wake of the Charlie Hebdo terrorist attack. The Centre for Inquiry and another Canadian humanist group have written to Justice Minister Peter MacKay calling for the repeal of Canada's blasphemy law. And I agree that that's probably the best thing to do with Canada's blasphemy law is to just repeal it, because it can be misused in this manner. This picket sign basically protests against the fact that Sue Montgomery, the Gazette's justice reporter, and the Gazette more generally have refused to report the story arising out of the fact that UUA hired Stikeman Elliott to falsely accuse me of the crime of blasphemous libel to cover up pedophilia and rape. So let's just go through this. Preteen children have been raped by Unitarian Universalist clergy, to say nothing of UU Sunday school teachers, etc. But the Gazette's so-called justice reporter, Sue Montgomery, never reported UUA misuse of blasphemy law and clergy abuse, cover-up, legal bullying. That's an entirely truthful statement with one little inaccuracy, which I'll correct right now. Where it says preteen children, the math that I did led me to believe that the Unitarian Universalist minister, Reverend Mac Wallace Mitchell, who was convicted, just one second here, Mac Wallace Mitchell, who was convicted of the rape of teenage Tibetan refugees. When I recently researched the rapes, I came to the conclusion that the rapes began when the girls, or at least one of them, was not a teenager, when she would have been 11 or 12 years old. Subsequent research shows that no, the rapes began, to the best of the available information, when she was 16. So, to be totally honest, I can't say that Mac Mitchell is guilty of raping preteen children. I can only say that Mac Mitchell is guilty of raping teenagers. But nonetheless, and I do intend to correct that, but nonetheless, you know, the whole being raped reported, being raped never reported hashtag has, in a way, in some ways, it's broadened the definition of rape. You know, some of the people using this hashtag have not been raped in the sense of actual sexual intercourse, but they have been, you know, sexually harassed or sexually molested and so on in other ways. And if we use that broader definition of rape, that the being raped never reported hashtag has kind of caused, or at least popularized, in that case, well, actually preteen children have been, in quotation marks, raped by other Unitarian Universalist ministers who are guilty of the sexual abuse of children, which may not include actual intercourse, but nonetheless is you know, clergy sexual abuse of children. So in that sense, this is still a highly truthful picket sign, even though in the case of Reverend Mac Mitchell, he was convicted of raping teenagers rather than preteen children. So I just want to make that absolutely clear. I can cross out the pre and just leave teen children and so on. So I want to be totally, you know, 100% accurate. But I don't feel too uncomfortable about this preteen remaining on the picket sign, in the sense that preteen children have been sexually molested for sure by other Unitarian Universalist ministers, and additionally preteen children have been sexually molested, and I do believe actually raped, in at least one case that I'm aware of, by Unitarian Universalist Sunday school teachers. So even if a Unitarian Universalist clergy have never actually been convicted of raping preteen children, I'm quite certain that at least one Unitarian Universalist Sunday school teacher by the name of Stephen Craig Bullite was convicted of rape of a young boy who he adopted, and that the rapes began when the boy was 11 or 12 years old, soon after he was adopted by Stephen Craig Bullite. So this picket sign slogan, well, beyond the slogan, is nonetheless, it's very accurate as it is now, just a slight minor inaccuracy. So anyway, we'll leave it at that for now. I just want to see how things are looking in the camera. Yeah.
Say the Gazette's been on it?
The Gazette has not reported the story. And the Gazette's justice reporter is a Unitarian, so it kind of kind of understand why. And actually there's a few other Gazette employees who are members of the Unitarian Church, so yeah, I think there's a connection there.
Well, at least they're not Masons.
Masons? Actually, some of them are. Since you brought that subject up. D'ailleurs,
possède la l'imprimante pour rester ici avec ça.
Pourquoi est-ce que je peux pas avec ça?
La Gazette, il y a des
proteste contre la Gazette.
il faut rester ici parce qu'on peut pas
So we got the security from the building who wants me to move along, you know, go further away. Well, I'm protesting against the fact that the Montreal Gazette, whose editorial offices are in this building, has not reported the story. So, you know, where does this guy want me to go? And is incredibly cynical. He said, "Oh, ça va rien changer." You know, no, actually, protests can change things. If nothing else, they raise public awareness. Even if the Gazette never reports this story, never reports, you know, the story that they should have reported, as far as I'm concerned, back in 2012 when I first brought it to their attention, and certainly should have reported in 2013 and earlier 2014 when I reminded them about this story. Even if they never report that story, well, this protest nonetheless can change people's minds, can reach the public in other ways. So, you know, just incredibly cynical security guard there. So we'll see what happens. But I think I have every right to be here. I'm not blocking people. People can walk by. People can come in and out of the building without a problem. Ticket signs are right there. They're not in the way of anything. So, you know, this guy just doesn't want the Gazette, you know, protest to be seen, you know, near where the Gazette offices are. That's what it comes down to. So I'm just going to circulate back and forth as we're supposed to do. Getting back to the Unitarian perversion of justice, which I was talking about before the security guard came out. As I said, this picket sign actually